it's very interesting that we talked about if 2XKO is going to be a successor to Marvel, but I feel like it's maybe it won't. Kind of depends on like what Marvel or whatever, because
Mm.
nothing is going to beat like Marvel 3, because nothing is going to beat Plink dashing, nothing is going to beat Touch of Deaths, and like insanely
Mhm.
grimy mix-ups on incoming, because as we understand from the build, there are no mix-ups on incoming. It's mostly like a reset, kind of like Dragon Ball or not King of
Yeah.
Fighters, Dragon Ball, stuff like that. So I don't think it will be a successor in that sense, but hopefully in terms of just like freedom factor, I think it's the most important thing.
Hello, hello, and welcome to the Absolute Guard podcast. We're a competitive fighting game community podcast examining history and current events from the lens of the Arizona grassroots scene.
Yes, welcome. This is episode number 80. My name is Benny. As always, I'm joined by my co-host John, and today we've got a four-person panel with NinjaNam and TheXButton. How's it going, Nam?
I'm doing great, doing great. It's been a while since I've been back on the show, and ready to talk it up, chat it up, and just hang out.
Nice, nice. What about you, Maynard? How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Really excited to be here with Nam, hang out with you guys. This is an exciting time.
All right, yeah, cool. Cool. We were gonna talk a little bit about some recent happenings in the local scene with the X Championship Series, which is a local tournament circuit that was put on here by TheXButton, and then we were also going to talk about 2XKO, aka Project L, with Nam. This all kind of stemmed from the karaoke party that John hosted a couple weeks ago, actually almost a month ago. And
What, a month ago?
yeah,
Oh,
Nam
wow.
was getting pretty passionate about 2XKO. I think John was pretty drunk at the time, and he was just like, "I don't
Yeah, I
plan
don't
to play
remember any
this
of this.
game." Yeah, I was sober, so I was like, I was seeing you guys kind of like really get into it, and I was like, "Oh, this would be perfect." And we set a date, and then I reached out to Nam, and Nam's like, "I remember talking about it, but I don't remember setting a date." And I was just like, "Yes, we did. Like, you even told us like when you were available."
All right.
So
In my
this is all.
defense, by the way, sorry to cut you off. My defense, I felt like I was just talking kind of normal, but
Yeah,
maybe you've put a few whiskeys in me. Maybe I sound a little bit more passionate about it. So
yeah. Nah,
I had
you
a
were pretty
lot of
passionate
whiskey
about
that night.
it. Yeah.
yeah, definitely a
We're
lot more.
definitely a few drinks in by that time. I was sobering up at that point, but you guys were pretty into it at that point.
I didn't have to drive. It was great.
Of course.
It was a
Best part
special
about hosting.
occasion, right? Because I believe this is the first karaoke since your
Since the wedding, yeah.
wedding.
Since
Yeah,
they got married, yeah. That was the
yeah.
thing,
Yeah. And that's the other,
Congratulations again,
like,
of
oh,
course.
thank you. Yeah, I mean, you guys all came to the wedding karaoke party, or like, rather, we had the wedding and then we had a karaoke party at the wedding afterwards. And I was like, how are we going to outdo that wedding karaoke party with the one that we had a month ago? And I was like, I don't know, like you can't beat singing at a bar, I guess. But and then yeah, I just got back from my honeymoon, so it's actually been a while since we've done one of these shows live, for that reason.
Yep.
So I have more to talk about the honeymoon in the later episode, but I am now rested and relaxed.
I mean, also just set the stage, like even at a bar, like it was outside on the porch, or what do you call it? Yeah, the porch, and you had a like projector on like the background of another building. It was such a sick setup.
Oh,
It
cheers!
was like such
Yeah.
a great idea.
I wish I had taken more pictures of that, because we had the photographer for the wedding. They were done after the train ride was over, but the building we were actually projecting the karaoke lyrics onto, like, I think it was a city building. Like, it was actually owned by the local government, and we didn't really get any permits or anything. So we were like, at any point we might have to take this down, but nobody gave us any shit. And it actually got to the point where like there were tailgaters in the parking lot, just hanging out and drinking beers, watching the karaoke. So we even had an audience.
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't attend. I wasn't able to attend the karaoke after party, so yeah, I didn't really know too much about what was going on at that time.
Yeah, it was kind of something we put together at the last minute, all things considered. And yeah, just in general, like part of the reason why we haven't had it at the wedding is I throw karaoke parties like once every couple months, and honestly, all the experience that I learned from being a tournament organizer, I basically just applied to the karaoke parties. Now I could run events that way, and I don't have to run any tournaments, and I get to use a lot of the same equipment.
So we're gonna have a double elimination karaoke next time.
Yeah, double
live audience vote. Oh man,
yeah.
I'm sure you could put something together, right, John? Like put a little app together where people can vote.
I wrote an app to manage the queue for the karaoke party as well. I haven't turned it on recently because it ended up getting overused and people would punch in like 50 songs. But yeah, like I remember using some of the same equipment from when I first started tournament organizing. I got microphones and a mixer and stuff from Mail Order, who's in the stream chat right now. And I started using those microphones originally for the karaoke parties afterwards. I've since replaced them, but I think I replaced them at the wedding, so everything kind of ties together here.
Yeah. There you go. That's what we got to tell the kids. Join the FGC. There's real life applications that you can apply from the things that you learn here, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I was even saying to Maynard, I'm like, the things that like you're learning running the XCS, you could probably put that on a job application or a resume based on how the sheer scope of that tournament series you put together is, you know?
Yeah. I've thought about that a lot too, because when it comes to talking about kind of like the extracurricular stuff you'd put on a resume, and it's just like, even if it's just a talking point, like you don't even have to put details, but you could put like tournament organizer, and like if somebody actually was like reading your resume, they could look at it and be like, what exactly do you do with that? That there's a golden opportunity to be like, event planning and coordination, working with a team.
Yeah.
Audio video setup and all that stuff.
I think that's like the big thing, because I came from a graphics degree, and so being able to apply that and do like production and the stream and making sure that the quality was good is I think it came out very well. Just one tournament had an issue, and other than that, like I think all the other content was actually I think it came out really well, and it played out really good for the players too, to be able to go back and review their matches.
Nice. Yeah, so before we talk about like the last chance qualifier, the finals for the XCS, why don't you give everybody kind of a brief kind of breakdown of what it is and kind of like where you just where it came from, like why did you decide to do this?
Yeah. So we've always wanted like some sort of Ranbats. We want some sort of tournament with stakes on it. Like it's fun to still have a tournament and like be able to compete and hey, I got first this tournament, but something at a longer set, something that would get you more committed for a few months. So the idea was kind of stemming from having Ranbats, but also with how the Capcom Pro Tour ran their sets. So I can't make it as complicated. I'm only working on Phoenix and Tucson, so I can't have like this 20 event plan. But over the time, I was like looking at it, and the original intention was I wanted it to end at Game On Expo. I was going to try to find my way into Game On Expo and have that be the final stage, but the timing was rough, and some of the plans fell through on that. So I would look for other venues, and I did work it out to where, hey, we got Phoenix, we got Casa Grande, and we got Tucson wanting to compete and wanting to do things. So I was like, you know what? Let's. It's kind of hard because I want an 8-person qualifier. So how do I do this? Let's do 3 of each per month, one to each location, and then let's hold a last chance qualifier to qualify 2 people. And I was like, that's a little weird having 2 qualifiers at the end, but hey, I do want 8 people. I want a final 8-man bracket. I don't want anyone to have any favors, no buys or anything of that sort. That was very important to me to have that. So the reason I did go with the qualifying system was because of Capcom Pro Tour. It's interesting how Capcom Pro Tour did it. We had like, for example, Snake Eyes. He did it very early. It was like 3-4 months in. So he got in really early. He got qualified, and then he kind of just chilled. I didn't see him at all. I could be wrong, or I could have just not been watching, but I didn't see him compete at any other tournaments until Capcom Pro Tour. And I think maybe he was holding tech. He's training in the shadows, and he's still, it was cool seeing him. Like I'm a huge Snake Eyes fan, but that was the thing that was interesting to me. So that is a pro and a con, because now that you're qualified. The con is, hey, they don't have to play anymore if they don't want to. The cool thing is we had Velociraptor play in 3 different events and got first place in 3 of the events. So, shout outs to Velociraptor just dominating the season and taking 3 wins.
Well, you got to think about that too. There might be, maybe he had a strategy in that sense where, being the gatekeeper, like, hey, if I could eliminate this guy before he could get the winners finals or grand finals, then, he's not going to qualify. And that's less competition for him at the finale, right?
Yeah. So that was a interesting aspect. And I think it was cool because, people qualify. We mostly had a lot of first placements. Out of the 8 people, 5 of them were first placers. 3 of them were second placers. That was Thrasher, Big Mac Combo, and you, AK Grandmaster B, who qualified second in the last chance qualifier. We're gonna have one because of that setup, but so it wasn't like as bad as I thought. Because initially I was like, when I was like halfway through, I'm like, oh, half of our people are second placers and half of our people are first placers. That in my mind, it didn't feel good to like have to do that many like second place qualifies, but in the end, it did actually work out really well.
Yeah.
And the reason we did that qualified system outside of Capcom Pro Tour is also because ran bats with the point system. When people started getting too far ahead, some of the people in the lower placement started not showing up. So I think it was a good idea to do that. It was a good idea to try to get people committed and to keep like playing. And like, even though you may not have been good in month 1, you still had a chance to qualify in month 3, which is kind of what happened with like Freezy. Freezy showed up to 3 or 4 events, I believe, and he qualified on the last minute. And the cool thing is, and spoilers already, he made it all the way to 3rd of the finals. So I think that was really cool to see that. So that was kind of like how the event rolled around, and I think it was really cool to see everyone come out and play, and to see people that really wanted to qualify. One of the people that couldn't even make it to the finals, Driftwood, he competed his heart out going to the Casa Grande, going to Tucson. He really wanted to make it, and then he found out he had another event on the finals day. So if he didn't have that fencing event, I'm sure he would have been at the last chance qualifier too. And he was driving. He was really trying hard. He was posting photos like, hey, warming up for the XCS, wanting to qualify. So shout outs to him too. He did really well. But yeah. The last chance qualifiers was also great. We had a lot of people come out. It was actually really cool having you, Grandmaster B, show up, and also Saber. Like, I think you only came out to the first event, Grandmaster, in Casa Grande.
Yeah, no, I came out to the Casa Grande, and then actually, I think you're right. I thought I went to a TGZ one that you did.
Yeah, but it was cool.
That's what I did.
Yeah, to have you guys there. And then Saber, that was his first event. He wasn't at the other XCSs, and he almost qualified too, being at 4th place. So we had Freezy coming out in first, Grandmaster B in second, and then Honorable almost squeezing it out at 3rd. And it was a very fierce tournament. We had a small downside with a small hiccup. It was right before the tournament started. We found out we didn't have stream. We didn't have internet.
Oh, yeah.
So we recorded some matches
problems
on the side. And as we were playing through, it started getting hot. It's starting to get hotter here in Arizona. And the guy wanted to set up a fan. And he went to go move cables around, and he accidentally pulled the power cable on all of our setups, actually.
Oh yeah, for the main power strip that you had, the surge protector that you had set up, like the industrial one. He unplugged that, and like everything shut off, like the stream station, and everything.
Yeah. So I had to maybe think about how I could prevent that. It wasn't my equipment, but a very unfortunate situation. I felt bad for the guy afterwards, but it was he definitely looked really like he made a mistake, a lot of regret, and like, oh no. And it's all right. Like, I feel bad for the guy, and it sucks for the people that were in a match. But we made it through. And the cool thing was that after 3 games, we were able to get the internet up, and we were able to stream the top 8 of the last chance qualifier.
Yeah. That guy felt terrible immediately, and like I just like, I don't know. For me, I would have been like, if there's a bunch of like computer equipment and other stuff plugged in, like my first instinct before I unplug anything would have been to be like, where does this cord go? Where does this cord go? Right before I just start unplugging stuff. But it happens.
Yeah, maybe we could get like some yellow tape, like the caution tape around the plug, just to kind of really warn people not to touch that one.
Yeah, this big sign or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then maybe this is something I could come up with in the future, but I actually had a hard time coming up with. So since we had the LCQ on the first few hours, took a 30-minute break, and then we went into a final 8. I didn't know what to call the final 8. So Ha was with us. He was doing the commentary, and he kept asking me, he's like, wait, what do you call the next section of the tournament? Because I tell him, like, hey, they're going to qualify for the top 8, but we're doing a top 8 now for the last chance. So what do we call this next part? And we had an issue. We were trying to find a name for it, and I couldn't still think of a name. I just called it final 8 in the end.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I like to try. I mean, I think finals would have been fine too. Like you qualify for the finals. But I also like the fact that it kind of just naturally became the final 8. So I mean, that could be something that you take into the future and just that's it. That's the XCS final 8, and that's what that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, we had some great stories.
Does that mean I get to call you the AK Grandmaster B XCS finalist now?
Yeah, we can do that.
He didn't make it into the top 8.
AK finalist B. There you go. Doesn't roll.
I wasn't planning to go because because after I participated in a few of them, and I was wanting to qualify through a tournament, and like that didn't happen. Like I wasn't able to go to some of the other tournaments, like the one in Tucson and stuff. And then there was going to be an online qualifier, and I wanted to enter that, but then just because I couldn't attend, I wasn't planning to attend the final. I withdrew myself from that because it wouldn't have been fair to Maynard or any of the competitors to enter, potentially win that, and just be like, you know what, I'm not going to be able to make it. You're going to need to find somebody else, right? Like that's not fair for the event and the other participants. So yeah, it was a last minute decision to go. Saber was talking about going last minute, and that kind of just I don't know. Like I wanted to. And I kept on telling myself, like, no, it's not a good idea. Don't take a day off of work. And then I was like, hey, can you come pick me up? Or can I get a ride with you? Because like we have having car troubles with one of our cars. And he's just like, yeah, just meet me by the 10 and I'll take you the rest of the way and I'll drop you off. And I was like, all right, screw it. And I was planning to call out a sick from work, but I didn't even need to do that. So ended up, going to the tournament, doing pretty well for myself, and then still ended up going to work later that night anyway. So all in all, it was like a win-win. I didn't have to burn a sick day either. Yeah. It was a long day. Yeah. I stayed up for basically like 24 hours since that day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But you were probably filled with energy with the way that tournament went, because I watched it from the stream, from the perspective of the stream, and once it came up, and it sounded like everybody was having a ton of fun, and I got to see a lot of those upsets of like Freezy upsetting Saber, both figuratively and literally. I got to see Benny beating up on poor Honorable with the Dalsum and Marissa matchup, and then when we got to the actual finals, those matches were fantastic to watch. Fantastic. So
yeah,
nice job, Maynard. Good production, and nice job for all the players too. It was cool to see it.
Yeah.
Honorable said he got bullied. Sorry, man.
And I put a big thanks out there, but I do want to actually verbally say it if you don't mind. Big shout outs to your boy Tree and the anonymous donor for helping out with the pot, Honorable and Techno for helping out with the trophy. Was very important to get someone, get the champion, something to bring home. And Godsaw, Ha, Velociraptor, AZ Driftwood, Thrasher, Sia, many more who stepped up on commentary and helped me with that, because I'm working on all the production. I can't focus on the match, and I really appreciate you keeping the stream busy there. And Dragon Ninja, Portajon, thank you so much for helping me with the equipment. It's really what made that stream quality come out. Like, thank you so much.
Yeah. Cheers. Yeah, my only gripe was that the trophy had Luke on it. Everything else was cool. But then we were like, here's the trophy, and it's like it was the thing with Luke on it. I was like, really? I was like, oh man.
I gotta fix the logo. I gotta make something more better. It is something that's strange coming from my logo, because I just put a character on the middle, and like right now, my character's from Katana Zero, a game I don't play anymore. It's still in my heart. That DLC is coming soon, hopefully. But Marissa didn't look right, and because they put Luke on the cover, and he pops out of the logo. That's what I used. So I'll think of something else for the next one.
Yeah, no, it's fair. Like you said, he's the main character in 6 according to like the story and stuff. So I mean, it's fine.
I forget too. Like I think we briefly talked about Freezy, getting third in the whole thing. But did we talk about the final results for the actual top 8 tournament?
We actually did not. So thanks for catching that. So starting from the bottom, we got AK Grandmaster B and Agony / John's Dojo. He was one of the ones that qualified from the online, getting 7th. Velociraptor and Sia in 5th place. Thrasher in 4th. Freezy in 3rd. Big Mac Combo 96 in 2nd. And then we got Flappy coming out in 1st. And that Flappy Big Mac Combo match, I was like insane. Like Big Mac was dominating, going all the way to winners finals. Yeah. And Flappy like took all that information and just figured him out. And it was insane to see how Flappy bounced back from a round 1 loss, taking it all the way to grand finals.
Agreed. Yeah, I was watching it from the narrative of the stream, and I was like, Big Mac's the guy to beat right now because he was beating everybody. Like he beat Velociraptor pretty decisively too, and that I would consider that an upset given the past results between the two. And then Flappy, frankly, he got destroyed by Mike by Thrasher early on, and I was like, okay, maybe Sam didn't show up today, so I was like, okay, Chase is Big Mac's gonna win this for free. And then Flappy, Flappy tore through everybody to get to grand finals, and then it was just utmost confidence in that grand final set. It was so cool to see.
Yeah, he's got this funny cheap black water bottle that he took to TGZ to qualify, and we were joking about it, calling it Mike's secret stuff, because and then. He forgot it at TGZ, so I was holding on to it the entire time. And then really, he just needed to believe in himself. He didn't need Mike's secret stuff to take it all back. He just needed to just wake up from that round 1 losers.
Nice. And then, Freezy making it from all the way from the LCQ to 3rd place. I thought that was, again, he had gone from going 2nd in the online qualifier to beating the person that beat him in the online qualifier all the way to 3rd place. I think Freezy's run was one of the more impactful ones too, because now Scott is playing more. And so the old man's back, as well as the young blood challenging the old folks. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, for some context for that, basically they played during the LCQ, and Scott was in a position where he was trying to mount a comeback, and I think Freezy was burned out, and he was in the corner. And I was watching, I was watching right behind him, and I was waiting for it because I was like, Scott's gonna need the DI at one of these points. And sure enough, he DIs, and Freezy does his invincible super, and the minute he does that, he just pops off, and he says, "The future is now, old man." And I was like, "Oh my god!" And the commentators, I think, heard that too, and it was pretty crazy in the moment. And Scott was just like you said, it kind of woke him up, and he was just like, "Oh, okay." And he take it. Scott's an old school player, so he welcomes the trash talk and stuff like that. And he's like, "Okay, give me some more time to figure out this character and learn this matchup," because he's been rusty. He's been dealing with some stuff family stuff. So knowing Scott, he's gonna come back with a vengeance. So don't rest on your laurels there. Yeah. But that was definitely a pretty hype moment there in the LCQ to see that.
We just talked about that on the last episode too, with Scott on, where it was how do you deal with the younger folks surpassing the older folks who are traditionally at the higher echelons of play. And Scott's answers were, well, you know what? You should listen to that episode. There's the plug. You should listen to that episode to find out exactly what Scott thought right before he got mauled by Freezy.
Yeah, that was a 2-part episode too. So that's what's been going on for the last 2 weeks if you've been following along the podcast when it gets posted. Yeah. But no, it's one of those things as a competitor, I know Scott's a competitor at heart too, so he's not gonna look at that and be like, there's some people that would have like crumbled and been like, you know what, maybe my time is not over, that kind of thing. But knowing Scott, he's gonna be like, no, I'm gonna figure this shit out and I'm gonna come back. And yeah, looking forward to the next time that comes, the matchup happens.
As the stream guy, I'm gonna have to put that match on stream every time now. If they ever run into each other, it's going on stream.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like the like one of the great things about, I mean, not just the FGC, but in general, like sports or whatever, right? It's like the history of matches and narratives, like, that kind of thing. This is the guy that put me in losers, or this is the guy that, I got second place at this one event because of this guy. And like that's the kind of stuff like you look for, and that, I mean, I personally love to see, like, when you hear kind of like the backstory. Like that's the one thing I love about like locals, is like you get a lot of that kind of like local lore and like narrative going on. It's just like, oh, this is the guy that's been winning all of our Ranbats. So like when he loses, it's an upset, right?
Yeah.
So
Freezy's got it on a mission now. He can't lose now to Scott. Otherwise, that Scott pop-off's going to be so good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Freezy's been my tournament demon too. So yeah, he definitely has a target on his back.
I do believe we actually have an image here to kind of conclude the discussion about the Freezy and Scott newfound rivalry here. I've got on the stream here showing an image of John Wick, because we think Scott's coming back now. He was kind of on the decline for a little bit. He doesn't want to be put out to pasture by the youth, though. So I think we're thinking he's back.
Yeah. Call him the Baba Yaga.
He changed his name and everything. It's no more Saber AZ. He's gonna come in walking with the suit, like, holy shit, who's this guy?
I am the MILF hunter. Cool. So we talked about the. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, just in general, man. Like, I love. That's I'm a competitor too, and just like, when I lose to somebody, like, that's the thing, like, that motivates me for the next time. Like, there's been so many people I've seen through, man, how many years? Like 15 years of being in the FGC, where I've seen people come to a tournament, get their ass whooped, and like never see them again. And I'm like, I guess he just doesn't have that in him, right? Like, he's okay being the best guy in his house or his neighborhood, but it takes one little bit of adversity, and he's just like, yeah, this isn't for me. These guys are too good for me. And like me, I would have been like, you know what? I'm going to work on getting better, and I want to come back and I want to do better and beat that guy that beat me.
Agreed. Or you can say the game sucks. That's always a good.
Yeah,
good
you can just go on Twitter and just be like, Tekken 8's horrible and you can't play defense and blah blah blah.
Who could perfect carry in this game?
Yeah. I'll drive rush fireball and blah blah blah. Yeah, I don't know.
So just to kind of conclude some of our conversation about the XCS here, what's next, Maynard? Like, what's the future looking like now that the championship series is complete?
Now, as far as the championship series, I definitely want to wait until like season 2 actually happens, just because of balance patches, characters, etc. One of the things that unfortunately happened is in the middle of the series, at the end of February, there was the small balance patch. And while it was small for most of us, it was huge for Velociraptor. And it's not Velociraptor is going to fight through it. He's going to do his best. But just from an outside perspective, it's like, it's rough that it's not Velociraptor 1.0. It's 2.0 having to deal with the changes. And like, he still won a tournament with those changes. He's still got a first. So definitely he's not going to lie down. But I definitely would like to see someone, everyone all at the same power level from the start of the series all the way till the end. Hopefully Capcom, in my opinion, I really like the balance changes, how they worked, not touching the game for a year and letting the game grow. I know a lot of people, maybe more casual, don't like that, but letting the game evolve and seeing how it changes based on that is really good. And that's why I think somewhere after the start of season 2 is probably where I would like to do something like this again. Probably when it's a little bit more cooler, because it's too hot to carry equipment around.
Yeah, it's like, I was gonna say, it's that TikTok generation, man. The low attention span. We need new content. It's just like, man, it's been 2 months. Like, we're still figuring shit out.
But besides that, we do have Evo coming up within the next few months, And one of the things that you were talking about in one of the previous podcasts was holding like a league. And while it's, I do want to like climb on that idea and build upon it. And I was thinking about, hey, maybe we could kind of combine like a league / boot camp type of thing together. And that way, one, we could keep people like motivated and like, hey, there's a match this week. You got to play this week against this opponent. So I do like your idea of weekly matches. I was thinking like having like a round robin setup and splitting people up into like 4 different pools. Like it doesn't have to be north, south, east, west, but something of that sort. Maybe I could have fun games like Shoto and Shadowloo, whatever. But 4 different groups of Rambats, or of not Rambats, excuse me, 4 different groups of round robin. And we'll have the first one a little bit randomized, a little bit of like, hey, there might be someone that's very dominant versus other people that are there, but this will help me with seeding it. So after we do one set of round robin, I'll take those points from your respective round robin and then match you up into another round robin. So you could still have a second set with people more of your skill level, more of your matches. And that way, that should hold us up until like the start of EVO. And that should hopefully keep everyone engaged, keep people playing. No matter the skill level, you're going to have someone in that area after that first round robin. And that's something that I was thinking about playing out. And I do want to try it. Maybe it might be something that I could set up on a Discord and grab some volunteers to test something out, see if it works. But I do want to see what the interest level is. And that's something I might drop onto Discord pretty soon. Of like, hey, what do you guys think of this idea? Who would be willing to play it out? And it's just one match a week, maybe a first to 5. So like I'd be like, hey, Nam, me and you are fighting this week. When are your open days? I'm open Wednesday. Can you meet me Wednesday or Thursday at this time and find a schedule? And then,
in terms of like the league thing, like a lot of that kind of stems from like sports and things like that. So like besides a round robin, I was thinking more like if we had enough interest, kind of splitting things into like different like say for instance in basketball they have, or football, same thing, they have conferences, right? And it's like there's like a east and a west kind of thing, and it's just you can still play basically anybody, but then there's also kind of like the divisional kind of things within those conferences, that those matches hold a little bit more weight. Like it's something that like I'll have to kind of flesh out and kind of show you what I'm talking about. But it's really going to depend on how much interest we got. Because if we get a good pool of players, like I think it could really end up being something that's worth doing in kind of like a sports league format.
I've heard areas and I've heard conferences. Like, are you guys talking about splitting people up geographically, or like what kind of?
No, it doesn't need to be geographic. It's more just going to be like that. I mean, that's just how it is. How it's done typically in sports is like they have a Western region and a South Pacific or something like that. Like it doesn't have to be that way for the purpose of what I'm thinking. It's just more just having like divisions to basically kind of create rivalries in a sense. So like say for instance, me and you were in the same division, John, like our matches against each other would hold a little bit more weight than me playing somebody that's in a different division or on the other side.
How about Street Fighter 6 players, Street Fighter 5 players, Street Fighter 4 players? But the problem is that the Street Fighter 5 players would win everything. So I don't know.
We'll see about that.
It's the DOA players. I'm in my own.
The
pool.
DOA players. Yeah, you and Dragon Ninja and Kidney. We can get Kidney to come out.
But in all seriousness, I only call it north, south, east, west. Just also originally thinking like 4 groups in my mind. It could be anything.
Yeah.
But I was just looking for a way to divide it in the long term.
Yeah. Well, like you said, like I think we need to kind of gauge interest first, like see what our player pool is looking like, and then we can kind of narrow things down from there and kind of fine tune like how the format can be.
But one of my
main thing was just like, go ahead.
I was gonna say one of the main reasons I wanted to do this was because like the work schedule is weird for some people. Some people haven't come out because they'd rather stay home and be online, but they're still interested in going to big main events. So I think this would be good for like I remember you Benny was thinking about holding like something like a Tuesday or a Wednesday as an example because of your work schedule, and Saber once talked about like the events on Saturday I can't make it, so maybe having that open week schedule to be able to play when you're available might work for some people.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. He just put up Scott's picture back up with the stream.
Another one was Rika was also having a hard time with like the weekends. I remember she worked late, so she couldn't make any of the events, but she did make it to like your Tuesday tournament on the first 3 months of the game's release.
Oh yeah. So. Well, she did make one of the. I thought she made one, or was it a Secret Lab tournament that she made?
She made a Secret Lab tournament when I tried to hold it an hour later, and that actually worked out for her. But
see, again, like you said, it's something that's a conflict for a lot of people.
I think that's the strength of this format, or like this idea at the very least, is the asynchronous nature of it all. Like that's the big selling point compared to the traditional Ranbat thing. And it keeps, the fact that everyone's going to get to play matches on their own terms and at their own time periods. I think that would be something a lot of people would be interested in. I'm interested in it for sure because my schedule's been kind of whack lately. So,
yeah, it's kind of all over the place, but it's something like gauge interest first, and then I think I'll probably flesh things out about what I'm thinking of in terms of like how the players in the league and all that kind of stuff. Because I even had like ideas for like playoffs and everything like that all put together. So
you guys are gonna put together a Google Doc and then read the Google Doc to each other on air. We can do that. We can be the Absolute Guard announcement show or something. Totally give you that platform.
We're just giving everyone a sneak peek right now. So whoever's on this stream right now, they get the early peek.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do like video predictions and stuff like that.
Like an early access, half finished tournament series.
Actually, you know what? That gives me a good idea. I need to write that down too because, like, you were talking about how to divide the players, right? And one of the big things that Capcom Cup, like this, or not Capcom Cup. No, I think it was Capcom Cup. Or was it
the Pro Tour?
They did like the drawing.
Oh
the drawing of the players into the pools.
Yeah,
and like that's something that interests me in terms of like in-house soccer is like soccer. A lot of soccer leagues do something like that for like the world events where they kind of have certain teams that are like like an A-tier team, right? Like they've won their respective country's league or something like that, and they're put into the pool, in like an A-tier, and then they're drawn first to separate themselves, and then the other teams are put in and then filtered out that way. So that'd be something like I'd probably have like a panel discussion with in terms of like player levels, and that'd be a way to kind of like separate things too initially.
Cool.
Yeah, maybe that's something we're gonna have to after the podcast too. We'll jump into it a little bit more and flesh it out and make some announcement later on this week. Maybe.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. Yeah.
You could use the in-game club feature too. Make a separate club for each of the conferences. I don't know. A couple ideas there.
I didn't think about that.
One of the ideas I had too was that Discord had a new forum area, and while I don't like the idea of using forums, it will help organize matches. So we could set up a forum and have a post of like, "Hey, Benny versus Porta John here." That way, you two could talk about it in your terms and times, and that way we could figure things out.
Schedule things that way.
Yeah.
Because I already see the potential downside to this is like you pair up two players and you're like, oh, we didn't know we were supposed to play, and then you got to figure that out and get.
No, see, I had actually. Let me write something for that too because like I had something to kind of
write it in the Google Doc. Too.
Yep.
I don't know if there's.
I had something to deal with that too. But
okay.
I'll put it all together. And, like,
there's a penalty box in this tournament series, or this Red Bat series, or whatever it is. Again, the asynchronous nature of online and like the net code being as good as it is, like it's fitting that our local scene is evolving into it's moving into the future and taking advantage of these new tools, and we're not beholden to the simple problems with air conditioning at a venue or some dude unplugging all the power. So very cool.
The evolution of the scene. You get to play in your underwear at home. Yeah, but
so
we talked a lot about the
take your shirt off at the events.
My shirt's already off.
It just doesn't have the same weight. Oh man. Yeah, but we talked about the X Championship Series. Again, that was a lot of fun, Maynard. Like it definitely motivated me. Like trying to win some of the tournaments that I could go to, and then just overall like Rambats or tournament series, those kind of things are always kind of fun to participate in, and like it's always a good kind of gauge of like where I'm at and what I need to work on, and kind of seeing like the other players and what I have to work on to get to kind of their level.
Yeah, thank you. And it was great having you. Like it's awesome seeing you play. So I hope either this new event that we're talking about or even the next event, like I'm hoping to see more people out and people wanting to level up and get better. It's really cool seeing people's growths.
To get a little bit more hairy on it here, is there anything that you were disappointed by, or anything you could have done differently, or any big lessons that you learned from running this event series?
Yeah, I mean, I have to get a little bit hairy. Like it was unfortunate with the second Casa Grande event because it was on the same time as Game On. That was unfortunate. I don't think that was much in our control, and maybe Game On did their announcement. I have no clue when they actually announced that they're doing $1,000 prize pool, but
yeah,
I knew Game On was coming. I just didn't know what they were doing for game events, and that was the insane thing. I can't compete with that, and we had Flappy also go out there and Freezy and everybody else. So it was cool to see people play at a different tournament, but it did cause a weird hiccup, and that's why we had the online qualifier.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's part of the like you said, like the hiccups are the things that come with TOing and stuff like that. Something's gonna get thrown into the plans that you don't expect, and it's like I remember you reached out to me and a couple other people and like, hey, what should I do about this? And it's like you said, like you can't compete with it's oddly enough a con tourney. Like we had a discussion about that recently, and like a lot of times those are kind of like looked at as non-competitive, and it's a bunch of casuals that are there. But we had a good group of people that showed up, like from the tournament scene. Perhaps probably because of that prize pool, or maybe they just wanted to go to the con and hey, there's $1,000 Street Fighter tournament. I might as well play in that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then like other hairy things, it was actually Casa Grande as well, but it was actually in a what did they call it? Axe throwing venue.
Yeah.
It was kind of a cool thing at first, but I was originally proposed to it as like it was its own separate room. Like none of the pictures have the stage area in the same area as the axe room, so I couldn't visualize it. And I was told it was a great gaming space, and the rough thing was during our finals, they put 3 parties of axe throwers, like maybe 2 cages away from us. So during the match, every once in a while, you just hear a big thump, thump, and I'm like, oh my god, I hope like this isn't freaking our players out or messing with the audio on the stream. I get it; they're a venue; they need to run their things too. But it's like, this is kind of rough to hold like a high level gaming event. I get like you have to deal with noise and people talking, but to hear like a big thump every few seconds is it's a little disorienting for me personally.
Yeah. Scott was talking about that too in terms of like the walls are kind of hollow, because they want that impact, that sound to kind of come through when people are doing it, right? But yeah, there was a couple people like when they were throwing those axes, man, that shit came through loud, and I'm like, damn.
Well, prepare you for the major. For that one person who just stomps their feet a lot while they walk right next to you at your pool.
It sounds like a stick thrown every once in a while. Like you might hear it on the commentary. Someone gets hit, and then the big thump, and like, did he throw a stick? Oh no, he's still playing.
Yeah.
But it was cool having it as a middle ground. But I don't know if I'll do it again over there, just because of the environment. I do think we could have something better. But it was a little on the rough side. It wasn't what I was originally told it was. So it's something that it was cool to still have. It was, I wouldn't, I just wouldn't do it again, honestly.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. I mean, part of growing pains, it's like you said, I mean, it's just something to learn from. And have expectations for like the next venue that you look at, and just like what am I looking at in terms of like where are we going to be playing at, like what's internet like, that kind of stuff. It's like
I
it's
mean,
all part of the. Go ahead.
we've had our experience with the whack ass venues in the Marvel scene right now. Like you remember we did the strip club tournament. It was at I forget.
Actually,
what,
I wasn't there for that one,
Oh, okay.
but I
Never
did hear
mind.
about it. I did hear about it.
Yeah, there was a strip club tournament. There was one with Reiki crystals. There's one at like I think it was a church, or it was like some kind of like community area in Central Phoenix. That was the one that has put together with his friend, the Naruto guy.
I don't remember that.
Man, Marvel in particular attracted such like we got some whack ass organized. A lot of comic book store venues too. It's like they fit.
Yeah.
That fits the theme,
Yeah.
And speaking about interesting tournament venues, like the next Tekken tournament is next week, hosted by Sean Dude. He's one of the people that came on this podcast, and he's hosting it at like a rave concert event.
Really?
And like
I
I
did
think
not
it's
know that.
cool as a spectator, but I'm really hoping, like, I don't know how that's going to work for the players, and best of luck to the players that are playing in that environment. I don't know how that sound will do, but I'm a big sound player, and if I was to play, I would be frustrated, but I do hope that event goes well. I'm fingers crossed that everything works out for Sean, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
man,
we haven't seen a bar fights in a while. Like that like Sean's tournament kind of reminds me of a bar fights style event where it's, loud and purposefully loud, and, everyone's rowdy and drinking and stuff like that. Or, you see those ads anytime you go to the movie theater, they're like, we'll host your gaming tournament here on a projector that has probably like, 5 full seconds of lag, and no room for setups whatsoever. But someone's probably going to run a tournament there someday. I actually have some friends who were they rented out a theater and they just had like a Mortal Kombat tournament there. And
no, they do
it's
Smash
not real.
tournaments at the I think at the AMC's. They've
really?
been hosting. I've seen that they've been. I don't know if it's like Facebook events or something, but occasionally I'll see something and it'll be like it's being held at an AMC or a Regal or something. And I'm just like, you guys are actually playing over there? Like, who's showing up?
Oh.
But
Wow.
I don't know. Like, I mean, the idea of playing, that spectators seeing on the screen is cool, but it's just like,
They should project it on the side of a building, like at our karaoke party. Yeah.
That could be an idea too. Oh man, not during the summer though. That'll be like a Arizona winter thing.
That's when it's cheap, man. Cheap venue, cheap side of the building.
How would you keep everything? Like, you'd have to have like misters, but then you have all this electric equipment around. Like, that's not a good combo, John. Like, what are we gonna do out there? Everybody's just fucking pouring ass sweat.
Yet another Marvel tournament experience. I remember it was SBO. I think the last SBO was like outdoors in the heated Japanese summers, right?
Oh my god.
SBO stands for Super Battle Outside. Yeah, it was really bad because I remember that because there was a lot of glare on the arcade machines, and then the crickets, the crickets in Japan were really loud, or locust or whatever.
Cicadas, right?
Cicadas, yeah, they were.
Oh my!
You always hear that in
I'm
anime.
just thinking about people like potentially like having heat stroke or something, and just like you got to make sure people hydrate.
Yeah.
Oh man.
There have been some majors that have had those problems, in the growing pain years of our FGC. Like that's why water is such a big deal now, and like every major has to have water stations because the tournament organizer doesn't want to be liable for heat stroke.
Yep. High pressure situations, man.
What if there was a tournament at Fire Festival? It could have been like that.
Yeah.
That's all I know about
sandwiches?
Fire Festivals. It sucked.
Yeah, just lettuce and cheese sandwich.
Well, that's funny that you mentioned that because back in the past there was going to be a tournament hosted on a cruise ship. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, was it related to the beach or like?
No,
yeah, I was gonna say the beach.
Not related to
one?
VXG.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually bought tickets to go to this cruise ship, and
Really,
it ended up being like a complete Firefest like situation because not quite the Firefest because the event didn't even happen. People found out that the organizer didn't even acquire a ship to begin with, and it was like a month or two out. So people were questioning. They're like, "Hey, is this guy even real?" And they found out that he's kind of like a scammer. So,
Oh man,
yeah.
Jesus Christ!
Can you provide me pictures of the ship that we're going to be on? Like, what does my room look like?
What are the setups? Where are the setups going to be?
Yeah.
That's where the real money is at. If you're gonna scam people, don't scam out a tournament entry. Scam out a lodging, like the fact that it's gonna be a cruise and you have a room and stuff. Jeez.
Oh my god, dude.
I was gonna be like, does this cruise ship have the latest DLC? What if you play a DLC character and they release? Is the latest patch on in the middle of the ocean?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Okay. So we talked about one of the X's, but there's two more X's that we want to talk about on this show today, right? That's my awkward segue. We wanted to talk about 2XKO per the karaoke party that I can't remember.
Yeah, like I said earlier, so that kind of stemmed from like it was Jon and Nam just kind of discussing 2XKO. I know Jon said he doesn't plan to play like versus games at all, like anymore. Like he's done with that. Like that's a part of his youth, and like he doesn't want to revisit it or something.
It does sound like something I would say, yeah.
Nam was you
just gotta put his stuff all out there like that.
So Nam was very passionate about the fact that he was looking forward to 2XKO, and how I guess we could start this with the kind of the Marvel versus the DBFZ kind of debate, because Nam was he was talking about how he felt like as good as DBFZ was, Dragon Ball Fighters, and the kind of crowd that an audience that it garnered, it wasn't Marvel. Like it didn't feel Marvel to him. So I guess let's start with that now. I'm like, what's your take on that? Like, why did you feel that Dragon Ball Fighters didn't have that Marvel feel? I know you talked a lot about movement.
Yeah. I think that Dragon Ball Fighters was a great, I wouldn't call it a successor, a great addition to tag team fighters overall. And one of the biggest things that makes it Marvel for me is the movement, right? The movement, being able to really precisely like move to your position quickly and precisely. The thing about Dragon Ball is that I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of hate to a lot of these Dragon Ball fans. And I mean no disrespect to anything. It's just the way the movement works is that a big portion of it is dashing, air dashing, and super dashing, right? Super dashing is literally automatic. It's like, oh, you're here, I'm coming to you, right? That's one part of the movement. So I wouldn't say there's no like skill or precision. It's just that this is a move and it's part of the game, right? That's part of the game as well. Air dashing is, it's pretty, universal to not just versus games. It's also, an anime game thing too. And I would say the way the dash works, because it's only forward and back, right? It's definitely it's basically an ArcSys anime air dash, right?
Yeah.
And then the dash on the ground is more of like a run to me. Yeah. So
it doesn't have that snappy feeling that Marvel has, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In Marvel, and I'm just gonna reference Marvel 3. It's that blink dashing and wave dashing. You can dash to your location, but you could stop your movement. Being able to stop your movement is what, to me, really defines Marvel movement. Whereas Dragon Ball is more set distance, if that makes sense.
I see. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And I was never particularly skilled at any of those games, but I kind of felt the same way. Like the little time that I spent with Dragon Ball, like it didn't feel necessarily as freeform. Like I thought with Dragon Ball, like I don't have any particular, like I didn't watch the show as a kid. Like I don't have any attachment to any of those characters. Honestly, I think half of them all look the damn same, and I can't figure them out because there's like 25 Gokus
racist.
or whatever.
I'm about to get to that in a second too, by the way.
But I felt like for a lot of the fans of Dragon Ball, like this was like kind of a culmination, like a love letter to the series. Like it brought characters that they wanted to see and like brought them to life in a sense that like, you know, there have been Dragon Ball fighting games in the past, but they weren't good games. And this was like finally a good game for them to play and, you know, play those characters and in that universe.
Yeah, and I'm really happy that Arxis really like did their homework and they really went all out on making the characters and making the moves look really cool. And honestly, looking back, I'm glad that it wasn't, at least in my eyes, is not considered as a successor to the Versus series, rather than it's just its own thing, so that people can enjoy the game for itself rather than trying to look for another Marvel game. You could just play the same Marvel games or, Marvel Infinite.
That's true.
Thank you. Yeah. But when you were talking about how like, you didn't have a lot of investment in the series, right?
Yeah.
I kind of felt the same way for me too, because I actually didn't grow up watching Dragon Ball. Just didn't have cable or whatever. So I don't really have like the same type of investment in Dragon Ball as other people do. And on top of that, at the very beginning of the Dragon Ball's lifespan, in season 1, a lot of characters were really homogenized. Like they all felt like they did the same thing. It's just that some characters did it better, and that kind of ties in with what I was talking about for the movement, is that everyone has a super dash. Everyone dashes the same. Everyone has an air dash for the most part. So it felt like there was less diversity in terms of individual characters at the very beginning of the game, at least to me. But after a while, they eventually balanced it out and made sure that a lot of characters have more individuality. But that's what kind of turned me off from Dragon Ball Fighter at the very beginning of the series.
Oh, okay.
There's also a lack of waifus. That's why I didn't play it.
Yeah, there was only one. It was Android 18, and that was kind of it, right?
Early on.
Yeah, and 21.
Oh yeah, 21. Yeah, forgot about. But she was pink.
There's nothing wrong with pink waifus.
They had to release the lab coat one for the real waifu fans.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you have to choose against 5 different Gokus.
So John, do you agree kind of like with his assessment of Dragon Ball and how it didn't feel to him like a Marvel game? Because I know you played it briefly, like when it launched, right?
Yeah, I actually played it quite a bit. I got pretty decent at the like first couple months, and then I got bored. But mainly because I liked Street Fighter V better, just as a fighting game. But I think the way I kind of walked away from Dragon Ball was like it's a good game, and it's Marvel if Marvel was fair, and like there's less bullshit. Like that's actually part of the DNA of Marvel, is that you get to put your opponent into a bunch of bullshit and they have to deal with it, and it's like a power fantasy in a lot of ways. And then if you can deal with your opponent's bullshit, then you're a god as well. So like the highs and the lows are extreme in Marvel, and Dragon Ball had kind of like narrowed that down a little bit, where it's like everything is really fair, but because of that it's kind of sterilized. And at the time, I'm like, I actually really enjoy sterilized, fair games, and that's why I was playing Street Fighter V. And there was a certain point where I was just like, well, if I'm going to play a sterilized, fair game, I'm going to play Street Fighter V. And it had the team assist stuff. Like at the end of the game's life cycle, and just throughout it, a lot of it was just throw a big button out and call assist, like a Bardock Lariat or something. Like do big moves you forward, call assist, and then do the same kind of high-low stuff due to the universal mechanics and the restrictions around there. I was really pissed about cross-ups not being a thing. Like there's a lot of cross-up protection in that game, and cross-ups are my favorite style of mix-up at that time. But I enjoyed the characters that I played and the team that I played, and I just overall, like it didn't feel like a Marvel successor for me by any means. But part of that's because I think you need that bullshit. I actually had a counter example where I was like, if you had to pick which is a more worthy Arc Sys successor to Marvel, BB Tag or Dragon Ball Fighter? Because BB Tag is bullshit,
easily,
right?
Easily, yeah, BB Tag.
Yeah, so that's kind of what makes me feel like a Marvel game is Marvel game is you got to have bullshit. You got to make people mad.
Yeah, actually, to add on to that, something that just came up in my mind is that you're right. Is that in Dragon Ball, it's not that kind of like really grimy mix-up, where that's really where a lot of hype comes from in Versus series. And then I learned of the term jailing, and yeah, and I feel like that's like where like the first time I've ever heard of the term is from Dragon Ball, and that's where the quote unquote cheap stuff comes from in Dragon Ball is where you put your opponent in like a non-stop block string. It like lasts for like 10 seconds because you have assists that are like lasting forever, you know, with Vegeta Cold Star, you know, whatever it's called.
Yeah. Vegeta Alpha assist or whatever. Yeah, that was everywhere when I was playing it. And it's the point where it's a true block string, so if they're wiggling the stick, they still remain blocking, right? You know, a synonym for that is absolute guard. Hey, that's the name of the show. All right, that's all I got. That's all that set up for that. I think jailing is something different, though, right? Like they can actually get opened up, but you just have to. You more about boring your opponent to death as opposed to opening them up.
Yeah, it's essentially putting them into like it's not necessarily cheap mix-ups. It's just a lot of mix-ups within like a long time frame because it's harder for them to press a button, obviously, because the gaps are a little smaller.
Would that be like a Strider in Marvel 2, Strider Doom, like how he hits him with rocks, Ouroboros?
I think it's more like a spiral.
Yeah,
I
think it's spiral.
Yeah.
I would say it's okay. So if you're talking about Marvel 2, I guess it could kind of be considered jailing. But the thing is that the whole point of Strider Doom is that it's not just for the mix-up lockdown; it's also chip damage too, and you're essentially always gaining some type of meter through Doom Rocks and through Ouroboros. So you can actually loop it over and over, and even if you don't open them up, well, I mean, you just got chipped to death. So, yeah. Whereas chip is not as prevalent in Dragon Ball, if that makes sense.
Yep. Gotcha.
Got it.
Yeah. But like you said, like I mean, I definitely agreed with you in terms of like the movement because I played actually a little bit of all three of the games, Marvel 3, Dragon Ball, and then also Marvel Infinite, and like Marvel Infinite was like the definition of like freedom of movement and freedom to do whatever the hell you wanted. But so that was all leading into you guys talking about 2XKO, the aka Project L, which I'm going to continue to call it. But
same here. I prefer Project L.
Yeah, so you talked about being real interested in that game, and then I know you brought up the fact that you know we have some of the fighting game elites almost in a sense, you know, top players that are helping to design that game. One I know for sure is Clockwork, and then I recently found out that Marlon Pie is working on that as well too. Was there anybody else that from the scene that's helping with the development of that or the design?
Yeah, I don't know if it's like designers or testers, but from what I understand, Apology Man is on the team. Yahozi is on the team. She's a big Dragon Ball player and anime player as well. Nerd Josh is on the team. Yeah. Pat the Flip, but you know he's more of like a community kind of guy. So yeah, there's definitely quite a bit of names on that roster for sure.
And while it's not Marvel, the lead director was a competitive Tekken player. He placed really high in Tekken Tag back in the like older Evos. I can't remember his name right now, but yeah, he's a big fighting game guy. So,
and the whole project is led by the Cannon brothers, right? Who are the founders of Evo, and you know they also developed Rising Thunder. My understanding is that they had a studio that developed Rising Thunder, and Riot just outright bought them, right? And so then now they're obviously I doubt that the Cannons are. Maybe they are. Maybe they're in the thick in the weeds and coding all that netcode or everything. But
yeah, they also created GPO, right? So
yeah, and that's a huge deal too because they talked about like the online infrastructure with Project L becoming like utilizing GGPO or rollback plus the infrastructure that Riot already has, which I don't really know what that means. Does that just mean they have a bunch of cloud servers? Or?
Yeah, yeah. So I think from what I remember from what they were talking about is that the reason why networks aren't really great in fighting games is that we don't have enough servers in between to be able to connect to each other. But if there's a lot of servers throughout the entire country, then at least we can connect, like we can connect more efficiently, is from what I understand.
So one thing
Yeah,
too
less
is
hops.
that yeah, they're also using a lot of the servers that they had for like League of Legends and Valorant. So we will have like a US West server, and we're going to be playing on US West. So if me and you were fighting someone from Washington State, as an example, and the Washington State guys, they just have crappy internet for whatever reason. Maybe they're on Wi-Fi. If their packets are dropping, then the server's not going to receive it. So me and you will be playing perfectly fine. We could still hit everything. So if it rolls back, it's going to take our information and our data because their packets are dropping. They're not going to get their inputs in. So we're not affected by that, being that it's hitting the server.
That's the part that weirds me out a little bit, though, is because we you know, fighting games are traditionally peer-to-peer connection for that to minimize latency, right? But now if there's an intermediary, like Street Fighter V tried relay servers, I think Tekken 7 tried relay servers, and they were really bad. Smash Ultimate, if I recall correctly, had relay servers as well, and that game is notorious for its really bad netcode. So I'm kind of concerned about it, but at the same time, how else do you manage a 4-person fighting game? You know,
Virtual Fighter, the Virtual Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, the re-release that came out on PS5.
They use relay servers.
They used relay servers for the first like 3-4 months to like really push the game, and they were using delayed netcode on a relay server, and people loved it. Now that the game is a lot older, I don't believe they downsized the relay servers, but I don't know if they still use it. But like I remember the first 3 months, everyone was praising it.
Oh yeah, I heard something about like absorbing netcode or something like that, and that's what the relay server does. Is it absorbs that packet loss that you're talking about? But that's cool. At the same time, like if there's anybody that can make netcode work, it's going to be the people that invented GPO. So I'm a little worried, but at the same time, it's mainly because I don't understand it. But optimistic that the people behind it can figure that out.
Yeah. Like you said, I mean, the fact that we have what you name 6 people. Well, 6 people from the community, not counting the canons that are helping to design or at least have some hand in what the game's gonna be. I think it's a really good thing because like I think that's one of the frustrating things I've seen in like the past with like some unknown developer having a fighting game and then like there's just some weird mechanic or just something that like doesn't fit or doesn't feel right, and it's just like whose idea was this?
About Heat? I'm kidding.
Oh no!
Yikes!
It's just like
so Nam, like we spent a little bit earlier talking about the like whether or not Dragon Ball was a successor to Marvel. Is that the vibe that you're getting from 2XKO that's the true successor to Marvel?
Yeah, I would say that out of any of the other ones that have come out, it feels a lot more like it. I did get to play it a little bit of it at Evo, and I know it's a pretty early build, but I think one of the things that really also makes it really cool is that the tag system is very fluid, and I think that's also one of the other things that makes it as a Marvel game, or at least as a tag fighter, being able to like switch out on the fly and stuff like that is really cool. So, and then go ahead.
My bad. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say like, not just the tag system. It's about like how the tag system works as a duo, as like a 2v2, because I don't know if you guys know this, but to tag your partner in, they have to call themselves in. So this is going into like the gameplay mechanics of like 1v1s versus 2v2s, because now you have to be really like connected with your partner, and this could be something a lot different because Now it's like your partner has to be like, okay, I'm gonna tag myself in, and then you make the call if you want to tag them in or not.
Yeah, I mean, the last game that we had that really did that was Cross Tekken, and I remember in that game, like you could tag them in, or they could tag themselves in at any time, if I remember correcally.
Yeah.
You could boost chain
And that would
people
kind of
in,
just,
but then they could also just tag cancel
throw people
and pull
off.
out
Yeah,
your
yeah, because I remember there was plenty of times like when I played 2v2s where it was just like, all right, you're in, and I'm just like, wait, hold on, what? Yeah.
Yeah, this. I mean, it's pretty similar to like Power Rangers and BB Tag, which of course Power Rangers was worked on by Clockwork. It's that you could choose to just use the assist and then continue with a point character, or you use the assist and then use that as as reference to tag in, or you tag in and then you use a move yourself and then you tag in for the mix-up, which is a la MVCI style, right? Right. So there's a lot of potential.
I completely forgot about Power Rangers because that's probably the most Marvel-esque successor game in the modern era, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
Man, 2XKO's got a lot on its shoulders because it's a successor to Power Rangers, Marvel, Rising Thunder. Like, dang, there's a lot there.
I mean, another crazy thing too was everything that Nam was talking about was a part of their fuse system, and now it's kind of like maybe like a groove or gems. I don't know what you want to call it.
Gems. Those are successful.
No,
it's a cross-second successor too. I see how it is.
Don't say that.
Infinite gems. The infinite ones. Marvel Infinite gems.
Because Marvel Infinite was really well received too.
No, not
oh yeah, definitely really well received.
But I was talking more in the sense of like the tag styles. The instant tags while you're in there, or having a DHC. DHC is part of the fuse system, so. Not everybody will have access to it, but it will make it like, hey, you want access to DHCs, you got to sacrifice being able to instantly tag while they're on screen. But also they were heavily talking about how you could 2v2, you could 1v1, or you could even do a 2v1. And I was kind of curious about that. This is way too early to talk about, but it was something that piqued my interest. Could we see tournaments where you could either apply as a team or as an individual? If you apply as a team, hey, you could have the advantage of being able to tag and both players doing their own thing during the tag animation, where you both have a slight control for like that second. Whereas if you're playing as one individual, hey, you don't have to worry about John Doe tagging themselves in. You're in full control. It seems a little strange and weird, but I think it's interesting that it is a possibility. So
yeah, I that one I'm a little torn on. Like, I feel like that sounds like fun party game stuff, but I feel like tournaments are gonna be divvied up, kind of like Smash how Smash does doubles and singles. Like
doubles, yeah.
By and large, like every game that I've seen that's offered that, and mainly Cross Tekken is my main data point here. It's like the fighting against like a team of two people is going to be way worse than one guy controlling his entire team. But I don't know. That's I don't know. That's kind of like a very opinion based thing on my end. I just feel like that's going to be. I would put money on the guy playing his own team as opposed to two people trying to pretend to be drift compatible.
I originally thought about that. Oh, real quick. I just originally thought about the same thing, John. But the crazy thing is like, hey, if you do a tag and you have an assist on one left side and on the right side, and then you instantly switch tag, that one person has to worry about the left-right mix-up a lot, like in a crazier manner. Split-second decisions. If you're in sync, that's pretty cool. I think that would be really hype to have. But it really depends on how the game plays. It's definitely way too early.
I guess like at launch, like everybody tends to gravitate towards a favorite character at launch, and then you know how like people would play like one character and then they just tack two assists on in most versus games at the beginning. So maybe then you have to deal with two people playing their mains, and you only have like half of a team. But that's something that I think would die down pretty quickly once the game got figured out. I don't know. I'm predicting the meta on a game that's not out yet, so whatever.
That'd probably be the one way I'm interested in it. Is like, I've like when it came to like Marvel or tag games, like Yeah, I always had that one character that I kind of like knew how to play. The others were kind of just kind of throwaways, or like you said, I just used them for assists. But it's just like I'm more interested in the duo aspect and the fact that I could focus on one character and then just gotta find somebody that wants to team up with me that I can play with.
You know who did that was Skullgirls with the ratio system. Oh man, is this game a successor to Skullgirls too? Which is also a successor to MVC 2.
There's no ratio system though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. Is Mike Z on the game? I don't know if I talked about that one.
Highly doubt it. Highly doubt it. But yeah, I mean, when you were talking about like predicting the meta, I think that at first the single player would probably have the advantage because they don't have to worry about blah blah blah, having to communicate or whatever. But I feel like once the game becomes more fleshed out at the higher levels, if there's like two characters that are concurrently like being active on the screen, then I feel like maybe then the two player will have the advantage, just because there's just more actions that could be done, So
here's a fun brain teaser of a question. Suppose that 2v2 is forced in a tournament. This is hypothetical. What community do you think would be better at a cooperative fighting game? Like, do you think the Marvel players would actually cooperate well with each other, or do you think Dragon Ball players would actually cooperate well with each other? Smash players, Street Fighter players, like who do you think is going to be the best at? I guess they're in the mix too. Is this game a successor to League of Legends?
Yes. Not a successor, just another another League game.
I don't know. I think for me to answer your question, John, I think the Smash players and even like Maynard said, the League of Legends players, the people that are used to playing in those kind of environments or with a team, I think could end up faring well because they understand that dynamic. Whereas, a lot of people play fighting games because they don't want a team, right? They want to shoulder all the blame, they want to take all the glory for the wins, and they have to hold all the losses and the miscues and the misexecution. Whereas, if me and you were playing Call of Duty and you missed your shot, I could be like, John, why are you a horrible shot, dude? Like, man, we could have won this game, right? Versus me just being, oh man, I suck.
Yeah,
it's hard
you have to
say.
Kind of take responsibility.
Yeah, because you're right. I think Smash players and whatever League of Legends players, they obviously have the advantage because they already have the concept of teamwork. But one thing you need to know is that even in Smash and even League, you're always controlling your own character separate from what's happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Smash Brothers, there's usually is that there's two different battles going on in one stage, and then they concurrently walk back and forth and try to support each other. But in this game, there's only one character on the screen at a given point, so the concept is slightly different. Still think Smash players has the advantage first. I think Marvel players are a little too stubborn, and like the play styles are, too different from each other. Yeah, so
I was like, you can't be a Marvel player and not be a selfish bastard. Like you can't put people in those mix-ups and not be like, and then also be kind to your teammate at the same time. There's no.
That's what I'm visualizing and thinking about, John. Is just like you tag your partner in, and then they go for some whack ass mix-up, and you're like, why would you do that? Right? Versus, what you had in mind was, something more grimy, and you're just like, what was that?
That's me. I'm the whack ass guy. Yep. That's gonna be.
I get tagged in, like, go for a grab, like, what the fuck? Like, come on, man.
Hit him with an Arizona punish.
You do go for grabs a lot as your mix-ups now. They tend to work pretty well too, all things considered.
All right, what about you, Maynard? What group of players do you think is gonna possibly excel, maybe to start?
I mean, like, I wanted to originally say like a Smash group or a League group would probably, but because of how Nam brought that up about the 1v1 situations, like, honestly, like, Cross Tekken players are probably going to be the first ones out the gates. Cross Tekken did have to deal with the 2v2 situations at one point where they were forced to do 2v2 tournaments.
Even then, though, like, the Cross Tekken players don't play team battle anymore. Like, that's not a real, like, the game is barely alive as it is, and you could argue that it's not. And it's like they don't even have the I don't know. I've never seen a 2v2 battle outside of 2010 or whenever that game came out.
Yeah, whatever.
I forgot it's actually been that long. So yeah, maybe I'm wrong there. But it probably would like I'd probably lean more on the Smash still. Ultimately,
Smash. Yeah. I completely discount League players as being good at the fighting game initially. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. Like I just don't think they're gonna be any good.
Yeah.
And that's arrogant of me to say, but like it's a different genre altogether, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
While it's different genre. One of the interesting things was Sajam held that content creator tournament. And yes, it's content creators, they're not highest level. But it was kind of cool seeing a lot of my favorite streamers from way back and played League, playing Tekken, and doing okay. They were doing combos and setting up situations. And maybe it was just really good coaching or what, but I thought it was kind of cool. I don't know if they're going to go the long run, but I just thought it was interesting to see.
Yeah. It's time to see how good of a gamer you really are.
I mean, that's like fighting games and like mastery of anything in general, right? Like if you have the discipline and you know how to break something down into parts and learn how to get good at something, then you can apply that across different genres. You know, a lot of musicians are really good at fighting games. A lot of card game players, I think, are pretty good at fighting games too. But like if you put a card game player up against a fighting game player and say who's gonna win, it's gonna be the fucking fighting game player in a fighting game. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
For sure, yeah. Looking at that aspect, yeah.
I'm a little. I don't know. I am excited about how this. Like I joke about how this game is a successor to everything, but it kind of does have like a lot of weight on its shoulders, and so. Like because it's shouldering all these additional communities, the fact that League of Legends players are even part of the conversation, you know, like TFT players may be even getting into this. Though I was recently at my friend's oh shit, I'm gonna air some dirty laundry here. She's never gonna hear this anyway. So you know, at my karaoke parties I usually have Sam. She usually comes and she's the one who sings like really good Meghan Trainor songs usually. Yeah. She had her wedding shower this past weekend, and when I met her stepmom, she was like, "Oh, are you her college roommate?" And I'm like, "No, that's not me, but I know him because that college roommate is Skills That Kills, AJ, just by a sheer coincidence that we all know each other." And while I was at that wedding shower, I also was talking to a bunch of like folks that don't play fighting games, but they play TFT, and they. Like I asked them, like, are you guys interested in 2XKO at all? And they know about it because it's League of Legends branded and everything, but they're kind of like, no, but we don't really play fighting games. So there's still like a little bit of that stigma of like fighting games are hard. I don't really want to touch that if I can stick with TFT or League. So I think another burden that this game has on top of it is how do you convert that existing fan base into a fighting game player?
Free to play.
Free to play.
Yeah.
It's all about money, you think?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's almost like I said, like when it came to like Dragon Ball Fighters, right? Like I didn't like me and Nam didn't have any attachment to the characters and stuff like that, right? Like for me, it was just like, oh, I'll try it out because it's a fighting game, and like I know vaguely, you know, some stuff about the characters, but that's about it. But I don't have like an attachment or to a specific character or anything that I want to see in the game. So, I mean, I guess it bodes well that there is brand, to build off of, right? So that's going to generate interest from at least some casual players are going to look at this and be like, oh yeah, I wanted to play as this character and see how they are in a fighting game. And you're going to have those people gravitate to it, know how successful they're going to be or whether they stick with it. Like that's a whole nother ball game. Because like, I mean, we've seen that with just fighting game people that play fighting games regularly, and there's a new game that comes out and this is not for me, or I don't like how this character is and whatever, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And that attachment to the character too, like, that's something that I think that League of Legends has the opportunity because they have so many characters and so many different styles of play and like sub mechanics and stuff, that it may have the opportunity to evolve the genre in a lot of ways because there's new archetypes that we're used to, like a lot of different specific fighting game archetypes, like characters that have grappling moves or tri dashes or projectile zoning and whatnot. But like there's characters that like there's like 5 different kinds of trap characters in League of Legends, right? Or more. There's probably a lot more than that. And there's a way to, I think maybe they'll find a way to like not just fit them into a common fighting game archetype, but maybe create a new archetype altogether. And I wanted to ask Maynard, since you've got a ton of League of Legends experience, like, are there any characters that have interesting mechanics in that game that you would like to see in a fighting game?
Ooh.
Putting you on the spot here, man.
Yeah, right off the bat. I actually just watched Sajam's video about like his vibe check on the League of Legends characters. And if he wants them in a game, he actually had it recently. And one of my favorite characters, Garen, he just called him John League. And I'm like, damn, he is John League.
He is boring, dude.
But man, characters like into a fighting game, like I thought it'd be interesting to see one of the like shape-shifting characters and see how they kind of implemented into it. I know we had shapeshifting before with like Gen. What's his name? The guy that's Strider character in Street Fighter V, the old guy.
Zeku.
Thank you. Yeah, Zeku. So it would be, but the interesting thing about like Jace, as an example, he goes from a melee to a ranged character in this in the league game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, when you said shapeshifting, I'm thinking like Shang Tsung or 12 or is it 12 or
you know what? Shapeshifting is the art. Yeah, it's the
character.
archetype in League was the shapeshifting was a term, so it would be more closer to stance.
Okay.
But to go from like close range big brawler, something like a Marissa, and then turn into like a Dulcim with a long range, or it'd probably be closer to JP. But something
Avatar battles.
Yeah. I would be curious to see how they like would implement it. Do they do it as like a button combination to switch a stance, or do they make it like an install of some sort? Something like Quinn, her character is a ranged character, and then when she pops an ult or her install, she turns into a melee assassin, goes in quick, goes in deep. So like,
she's the one with the bird, right? Like Nakaruru.
Yes. Yeah,
kind of.
Exactly that, but like she like the bird goes in and she becomes the bird. So it's like in the league game. So how would you do that in a fighting game? Do you just make it like a Nakaruru thing where she just jumps on it? Like that'd be kind of boring. I wouldn't like that. But would they kind of find a way to make her like fight really far and then get a hit, turn into the bird, and follow up with the combo? Do something really fast and flashy?
There's characters that are like big on fog of war and stealth too, right?
Yeah,
like Evelyn or there's a Teemo. Everyone likes that character, right? The little munchkin dude that they sell all stuffed animals for. Yeah.
Yep.
So how do you use stealth in a fighting game? I don't know.
Yeah, no clue. One of the ones that I think is gonna make it no matter what is Akali. She's a ninja character. One of the big things in League is she'll drop a circle smoke screen, and as long as she's in that circle, she's invisible. So you kind of make this weird left-right mix-up in the game.
Well, bomb setup.
360.
There you go, John.
Sorry.
You got new bombs. You got new smoke setups, John.
Yeah. No, I mean, I look amazed on the camera right now, but I'm actually thinking about it. I'm like, because the way that works in League of Legends is the player that's controlling her can see the silhouette, but everybody else can't, right? And that's because that game is designed for knowing that everybody's playing on a separate screen, and so. Maybe we'll see some design decisions like that where it's like, hey, this game was meant to be played online. This game was meant to be played like on your own individual setup as opposed to like head-to-head style. So maybe we'll see something like that where like some players will be able to see certain things on their screen and others won't.
And honestly,
that'd be fucked up.
That part scares me as a TO. One of the games I wanted to play was that Final Fantasy Arena Battler game. I can't remember the name.
Dissidia?
Yeah.
Dissidia, yeah. You gotta have it set up for each person.
Having 6 setups for one game is insane. So having 2 setups per station, like that'd probably be something that you can do, but that sucks. As a TO, that sucks. Even the Pokemon game, the Pokken?
Yeah, Pokken.
Seeing people set up like 2 switches and taking up a whole table just for one match at events. Like, that happened at Winter Brawl. This whole, like, there was 2 stations or a table with 2 Pokken setups, so 4 stations, and they took up the whole setup. It was cool because they were loud and they were popping off, but like, damn man, I want to set up my station. I'm gonna play my 3D fighters at the time.
It would be funny that like the cannons would make the most anti-community fighting game, but at the same time, I'm also like, that is a legitimate way to push the genre forward, to present information to one player but not the other. It could also like break the whole genre. I don't know, but that's fascinating to me.
It's interesting too because like Mortal Kombat did have their style character. They had it in Reptile, but it's so weird how they do it because like both players just can't see him. So as a player controlling them, you just know where you have to know where he's at. So do they go with that method? I hope not. Maybe they just make it some sort of like, I don't know. I have no clue. I'm not a designer, but it is a character that I'm interested in, but I'm curious how they will implement it.
There you go. That's what I want for Sim. Street Fighter 6. Make him invisible. You guys don't worry where he's at. You're just gonna get hit by these limbs.
And Nam, I saw you have kind of a very loving reaction to Akali. Like, do you have specific characters that you want to see or want to play as?
Akali is my waifu, so obviously I'm pretty excited about that.
You're a big KDA fan?
I actually I am.
She's the rapper, right? I think she raps in Korean, right?
Yeah, I think she's the rapper. Typically my favorite archetypes in K-pop groups. Anyways, I did play League like over a decade ago, so like my knowledge is like really old on characters. But some of the characters that I played and maybe interested in were like I played all the ninja characters. So not only did I play Akali, I also played Shen. And I think that would be kind of interesting to see kind of like a tank style character.
Like shields on the health bar, right?
Yeah, because the way he worked was he like put shields on your like teammates and stuff like that. So I think that would be kind of interesting. Other characters that I liked were like Lee Sin. Lee Sin was really obviously like a martial artist. He had this thing where he kicks a fireball, and then if it hits the opponent, he can teleport to you. Am I right on that?
Yes.
That's insane. Like imagine if you hit them or you force them to block, and then like you call it assist, and then you literally teleport right on top of them from like full screen. That would be pretty insane too. So, other characters I also played Varus. He's like an archer, so I wouldn't mind seeing how a zoner works in 2XKO as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know any of these characters, so I was just like, I think the only one like John said was like that's the only name I recognize was Teemo. So I'm like looking through this champion list.
There's a lot.
You would be a Teemo player, Benny. You look like
no.
a
I'm just
Teemo
like
player.
I just remember what that character looked like. But I'm looking at all these other ones. Man, there's a lot. Holy shit.
I joked about it, and it's like Yordles are such a weird character, or like design. I was like, why don't they just make it like a big Yordle squad? It'd be like controlling like 5 characters. It'd be like a Rocket Raccoon, where he'll call like an assist of another Yordle character that comes out. So Corky will come out, do a dive bomb. It'll be
How's this character? I'm looking at these champions. Was it V or Vi?
Vi, yes.
Vi, yeah.
She's very popular. She's in the Arcane TV show. She's more than likely probably going to make it, but she's honestly just Marissa.
Yeah, great show. Yeah, kind of like cruiser style. Huh?
Yeah. She's got like 2 Infinity Gauntlets. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I really liked playing as Riven when I played League of Legends.
Oh, yeah.
And my understanding is, they made that character based off Marth. Like her code name was Marth in development, like Marth from Smash Brothers, like Marth from Fire Emblem, but debuted in Smash Brothers in America, just to satisfy all the nerds out there. But like the gameplay is like that. Yeah, from Fortnite. Yeah, but like her gameplay is similar to that, like that forward beast, like combo thing that Marth does with his sword. So
it's got Rekkas.
Yeah, I guess the Rekkas. Yeah.
On the official site, they show her difficulty as high.
Who, Vi or Riven?
Riven. No, Riven.
Oh.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah.
She has to earn like she has to build her sword, right? And then she essentially or she has an her ulti is like an install, and Like
or else an install.
yeah.
And then she has like charges that she builds up, and it's kind of whatever. I remember that because I was like, this character is too hard for me, and then I started playing Warwick instead, and that was a lot easier. And Warwick does lifesteal, which is also a thing that I think would be interesting in a fighting game, but also kind of weird.
We have it in Tekken.
Healing.
Ash had it.
Just a healing. Just a healing, and then you just take my life too.
Yeah. We have it in Tekken. We got it with Heat. We got the healing.
Because Heat's being very, very well received right now. Huh. Okay. Well,
I don't know, I'm just looking through these characters here. I don't know. For me, it's like there's always kind of like an aesthetic thing that always pops out first, and it's just like this character looks cool, but it's just like, are they going to be for me? And the other one that just jumped out, where did she go? Karma.
Oh, that's the Zane character.
Wow.
Whenever we would
Why do you
play,
say that?
I would play Runeterra with Fred and Zane during the pandemic, and Zane would always play Karma, which is like one of the most complicated characters in that card game. And my understanding is she's very complicated in League too.
She got reworked too, and I don't know how the new Karma works.
Huh. I actually do have a little bit of League of Legends background now I think about it. I played a lot of that card game, the Runeterra card game. It was fun.
Yeah, you did.
It's
Yeah,
fun.
you did. I remember
Yeah.
you guys talking about that all the time.
Yeah.
Another thing I'm interested in to see is how will they do some of the pet characters. So like Annie, she summons Tibbers, and that could be like an install. But like, how would you control the pet? Is it going to be like Carl from BlazBlue?
Oh.
Puppet
Oh.
character.
Yeah.
Puppet
Yeah.
Characters.
Yeah.
Or Eddie.
But like,
Zato.
have we had a puppet style character in Marvel or a type of Marvel like?
In Marvel? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Because I can't even think of anything like that.
I recall that there were
Uh-huh.
actual like in Marvel 3 at least there were actually like CPU restrictions on how many characters you could have on the screen. Like I think they actually had a puppet character. I can't remember who it was, but then they couldn't include them.
Was
Can't think
Carl-
of any.
Was Carl in BlazBlue tag?
I don't think so.
Oh, fucking Phoenix Wright. Does that count?
No.
Or he calls
No, not really. No, she's just more of an
Alright,
assist.
I'm gonna have to shut you down
She's
right
just
there.
an assist.
Is it every
No,
puppet?
like, for me-
Is it every puppet just an assist? Just philosophically?
No, not really. Like I always, I don't know. They were always more complicated than I cared to want to learn. I just thought that they were cool.
He's not a
I
BB
can-
tag.
He's not. Yeah, so like we haven't really had a puppet-esque character in a tag game,
Huh.
Ah,
so
that would be
it's interesting.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
lot of factors too, because not on top of you having your teammate, now you have the puppet.
puppet too.
It's like a 3v2.
3XKO. The thing that gets me though is like a lot of these mechanics that we're talking about, like lifesteal is a good example, or stealth. Like they've been tried in fighting games before. Like if like the fact we're in 2024 right now, we're shooting the shit on a podcast. Like we're not the first people to think about this stuff, and a lot of times it's because they tried to implement it in a fighting game and it just wasn't fun. Like the example that I think of is poison, right? Like not the character, but the actual mechanic, poison, like taking down your health. It took like three versions of like making, like trying to figure that shit out to make it fun. Like Persona 4 Arena had that, and it was kind of whatever. It wasn't very impactful. Hawkeye had it. It wasn't very impactful. You know,
Actually,
and
in MVCI, it was very impactful.
it was. Oh, okay. So maybe they figured it out after a while. But like, or like the stealth thing where it's like maybe hiding information from other players is just not very fun to fight against in a fighting game. So like there's like an added burden on top of this, which is like these mechanics may not exist in fighting games for a reason. And so how do you make them fun, you know?
Yeah, I'm actually
Like even
really
the shield thing, the temporary shield thing is a good example where it's like with Shen, if you shield them, what's to stop your opponent from running the fuck away until that shield burns out? And if you're doing that and people are running away from each other, that's like not fun for a fighting game where people want to see each other slug it out, you know.
Yeah,
That's neutral though. That's X Factor. Oh shit, let me get out of here.
you're a Dawson player. You run away by default, man.
come take my grad, the Zangief.
Normal people think that isn't fun, Benny.
Actually, another character that I just came to my mind is Twisted Fate. I think being able to grab a bunch of random cards and then play from there is pretty cool too. Though also there's already a character like that in
Asuka,
Strive,
right?
except
Yeah.
Asuka's like on a completely different level.
I was gonna say, would Rose in 5? Like, I didn't get the player, but I did see she had some sort of like weird turret thing, right? Rose in
Yeah,
Street Fighter
She
5?
did, but is it good?
Yeah, most people use the other V skill. I mean, they toyed with it. I think one of them wasn't like a poison mechanic too, but nothing like Asuka. Asuka's like that looks like you need to have like another you need to be on another
PhD.
like plane of existence or something.
He's a PhD.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, you
Yeah,
need a PhD, man.
you need to have an IQ of a certain level to play this character. I mean, maybe they'll have one of those mind melting characters, but that's another burden I think that this game has to shoulder, which is how do you take people that are used to, easier execution in like League of Legends, oh wow, that might be a little forward of me to say. But I feel like they do have to make the mechanics a little bit easier to play as compared to like the higher barrier of entry that a Marvel game would have.
I think that
okay.
Marlon Pai. I think that's the reason why Marlon Pai is on the team, honestly, because he's the one who developed Yasuo, and Yasuo right now is more complex than all the other characters, but still like, leveled enough where you can pick him up and kind of understand his concept and stuff like that. So I think there will be a lot of complex characters if you have someone like him designing characters, because I know people like you, John, you play a lot of like technical characters too, so you probably enjoy those.
I think I would like Yasuo because I want a technical character that has a big ass normal that I don't have to think about to use. So
he's got chun stance.
Oh really? I didn't know that. That's interesting. Maybe that's the journey here. Is I will gradually get sold on playing this game over the years here. I say years because I think it's pretty far out into it's pretty not far into development, right? Or like, is there a sign on any kind of release time frame?
They talked about a closed beta
stuff.
They talked about a closed beta this year. Maybe they might actually release it during Evo. Who knows? But I know that
I don't know about that.
their goal is a actual release in 2025. That was what they said.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Well, considering it is going to be free to play, and then I kind of see it the same way in terms of like the champions and stuff, and them releasing characters as time goes on, right? It's just like, okay, now we're gonna have a wave of new characters or whatever. But I just wanted to touch briefly because I talked about having an attachment to the characters, right? And I kind of wonder if that's going to be also a downside to look at because there could be people that play League of Legends that are waiting for their character to be released and are gonna voice their opinions. When is so and so coming out? I just looked at a Facebook, Street Fighter posted something about, I think it was terminology for fighting games and punishes, and every comment was like, when's Akuma coming out? When's the Akuma trailer? When's this? And I'm just like, oh my god, dude, it's just let it go. They're just trying to put some other content out right now.
I do have an attachment to Jinx and Caitlyn, and Jinx showed up in the early builds, they showed her stance and such, but they never released any gameplay footage, and I'm like, I fear she's gone.
Oh, they're gonna put her in the game. She's too popular.
She's so popular. Yeah.
She's extremely popular, but it's how do you the fact that we haven't seen anything, that's the part that scares me. I'm just like, damn, maybe she's a later character. Maybe they'll make her a paid DLC, a later released character.
They're gonna put in.
Do you think that they're gonna make characters paid DLC though? I can't.
I mean, the
model.
League model, it's you have to play a shit ton of games to unlock one character, or pay $5. I guess.
Or wait for the rotation.
Or wait for the rotation.
Oh, okay. Actually,
Multiversus actually pioneered that, and that kind of worked, I think. Well, no, not really.
I think Killer Instinct would be the best example that actually worked. But DOA did it as well in DOA 5.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't actually know that because I think I played 5 games total with League of Legends.
Yeah, League, they started with 10 characters randomized every week. They change. So you get to try that character out, and if you liked it, you could pay either real money or the in-game currency. But the in-game currency took a long time. Like one champion took maybe like a week and a half to unlock, and that was like me grinding out close to like 4 hours a day.
Yeah, okay.
That's 4 games every day.
Yeah. I played a shit ton though. Like that was like my casual phase before I started playing real hard and getting close to like 8 to 10 hours a day.
Wow. That's a lot. I am very curious about how the model is going to work here, where like even like stuff like alternate costumes, right? Which, you know, for Street Fighter V, it was really easy to make alternate costumes because of how like bare bones that game was graphically. But then like ArcSys has traditionally had a lot of hard time with their 3D games and alternate costumes there because of how like deeply ingrained the animations are with the model of the character. And so at the same time, costumes are like Riot was like pioneered the alternate costume thing for characters and selling them and the entire model in the first place. So that's got to be in there in a way, but like how do you do that when you also hear about how long it takes to develop a character in this Riot game? Like I think they kept showing concept art of Ilaoi, right? And you know, she's been in development for years at this point. So is it going to be hard, especially with all the squashing and stretching and the mix-ups, animations and stuff like that, all that stuff? There's a lot there that I think needs to be done to make an alternate costume. And is that too much compared to like a quarter-inch sprite that runs around and says some different voice lines if you pay $20, you know?
Yeah. I mean, also if you look at Street Fighter 6 right now, like I know a lot of people complained about the lack of content and costumes on the main characters. We finally got Outfit 3 a few months ago, and they took a while. And I remember a lot of people were like, "Oh, I want that Marissa Outfit 3. I'm not going to play the game until Outfit 3 comes out." It's what? Stupid, but
I remember seeing stuff like that too. Like personally, I find that kind of shit kind of silly because it's like either you're going to play the game or you're not. Like a costume shouldn't dictate whether or not you're going to play.
But I mean, us as a hardcore, that's a thing. But I know some casuals, they're going to be like, "Oh, this character's ugly. Like it's fun, but ugly to play. I want to wait till this outfit happens."
I'll only play my character if the bikini DLC comes out.
Yeah, the KDA, a Kali. You know they're going to make KDA immediately for a Kali.
The money will flow in for free.
Yep. Celebrity voice acting.
Oh man.
But yeah, the costumes will definitely be crazy, especially since that's the big selling point for League. So
cool. Well, I imagine this isn't the last time we're going to be talking about TXKO on this podcast in the near future. Like I bet there's going to be some kind of announcement in the coming months here, and we'll be sure to bring y'all back on to talk it through. Our resident League of Legends and versus game experts here. Any closing thoughts on 2XKO and wish list items, anything like that before we close out for the night or day, depending on when you're listening to this?
Yeah, I will say that it's very interesting that we talked about if 2XKO is going to be a successor to Marvel, but I feel like it's maybe it won't. Kind of depends on like what Marvel or whatever, because nothing is going to beat like Marvel 3, because nothing is going to beat Plink dashing, nothing is going to beat Touch of Deaths, and like insanely grimy mix-ups on incoming, because as we understand from the build, there are no mix-ups on incoming. It's mostly like a reset, kind of like Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball, stuff like that. So I don't think it will be a successor in that sense, but hopefully in terms of just like freedom factor, I think it's the most important thing in my thoughts of if it's going to be like a versus serious type of style game. Also, another thing is that Evo Japan's coming, and kind of unfortunate that we didn't have this after Evo Japan, since it will be demoed at Evo Japan, and Ilaoi will be a playable character there too.
Oh, okay. So we'll get some more news immediately then, and then we'll bring you back on. See what the reaction is.
Live reaction.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's it for me.
Maynard, how about you? Any closing thoughts about 2XKO?
Nothing else. I just spilled it all out right now. I just looking forward to more news. Honestly, it's a little quiet right now. I'm glad that they I don't like the name, but I'm glad that they announced it. They got that part out of the way, and all the other content on Twitter is just little behind the scene tidbits. But I want more. I want to see it. So.
Yeah. Well, I guess one final question I had for you guys is just like, do you guys even think that the possibility of another Marvel game coming out anytime soon, like I'd say as soon as in like the next 5 years, do you think anything like that could possibly happen again?
I don't think so. I think it needs another. Maybe. Well, it's been what? When was Infinite? 2016.
17.
17. Yeah, we need another 3 to 4 more years just to get that 10-year mark out of the way. Get that taste out of Disney's mouth, and maybe they'll think about it.
Yeah, are you talking about Marvel as in like the license, or Marvel as in like the versus game style of play?
No, just like
Marvel
a kind of like a
versus
traditional, traditional like a
from
Marvel
Capcom.
game. It doesn't even have to be, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think so, man. Like Marvel's not gonna like I don't see Capcom working with Marvel, or Disney rather, and I don't see Disney working with Capcom. And I don't know, even now, like the Marvel IP properties, I don't know, maybe that X-Men 97 thing is taking off. I saw something on somebody say on Twitter, wouldn't it be cool to have X-Men 97 versus game? And I'm like, that's literally what inspired
Children of the Atom.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's already out. But so maybe that's gonna bring some new, I don't know, like the game itself, the series itself has like the hardcore nostalgia factor. Like too many people grew up with it, but the longer we go, the older those folks get, and the less like in the cultural zeitgeist that game series will be in. So it just doesn't seem very likely to me, like ever. I don't know.
I don't know about 5 years. The problem is that the way Marvel works is that they use Marvel, at least nowadays, they use the Versus series to like promote their movies.
Both, yeah.
Instead of
Yeah.
the opposite, where they tried to push MVCI before Infinity War, where it was like, wouldn't it make more sense if you just waited for Infinity War and then release MVCI, and then at the same time also have more development time? But alas, Marvel doesn't quite work that way, and I think that after everything that's said and done, and I don't think their movie series or MCU is doing too hot right now.
Right.
And the writer's strike, so they're kind of all like working from behind too. So I don't imagine them doing anything anytime soon. Though I would love to. I would love for them to.
Yeah, there definitely seems to be a lot of kind of oversaturation with or brand fatigue, I guess you could even call it, when it comes to Marvel, even like Star Wars stuff, things of those natures. Like, it's like, I don't know. For me, like, I've always felt like part of the appeal of some of that stuff was just because it wasn't just constantly out there, right? Like there was a, I guess, I don't know, gap in time when like new stuff would come out. And now it was just like, it was so much content. Just like another series came out, and it's like this one ties into this, and this ties into the bigger picture, and I'm just like, I gave up. I was just like, I'm done.
And then not all quality stuff too.
Yes, the quality's dipped for sure.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why I wasn't excited for Dune, because I was like, I'm so done with universes. Like, I don't want to have to know the intricacies and the rules of every political faction and all this other shit. But then Dune ended up being a really good movie. That's what I want, is a Dune fighting game. Fucking
oh man.
Yeah, the Lisa Nagaib fighting
Lisa Nagaib.
Cool.
Oh man.
Yeah, I think you are right, Nam, because right now the only Marvel content I consume is Marvel Snap, and every month they promote the new thing. Loki, when Loki came out, they did a Loki card, and was it? Yeah,
X-Men,
it's just
for X-Men 97.
Yep. So they're definitely throwing that out there for all of us. So yeah, there probably needs to be some sort of big thing that happens, and Marvel Infinite needs to be far out of their minds. Maybe new executives at both places need to happen before a new Marvel game has a chance.
Yeah, there's also competition too, with 2XKO and stuff like that. So kind of have to be careful with things being released at the same time.
Mhm.
And again, like even if Marvel were to play ball, like what developer would they hire to actually do that to make it feel like a Marvel versus Capcom game? And Capcom doesn't seem like, I don't know. I wouldn't put Capcom at the top of that list because everybody that worked on Marvel 3 is gone, if I recall correctly. Like Nitsuma's at a different company altogether, right? So
They hired Aiding, right, for that?
is it
Marvel
Aiding that
3?
did MVC3?
Yep.
I believe so.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah, because Dimps did 4, Street Fighter 4, and then I guess Aiding is like they make a lot of good anime games. It makes sense too because they did TVC as well, right? Or Tatsunoko versus Capcom.
Street Fighter 6 kind of restored my trust in Capcom a little bit, so I think they have the capacity to do that. I
Yeah.
just don't know in what direction they want to go to, because it seems like nowadays everyone's trying to go for like the slower style and not the touch of death, really punishing kind of thing. So it's kind of hard to say if even if they do make the game, is it gonna be something, worth playing. So
Maybe it'll be like a pendulum thing though, where it's like all the slow games are popular right now, but then that'll create a vacuum for the fast game. Well, I guess 2XKO is gonna fill that. So
yeah, true.
is 2XKO the successor to all fast games? Good resistant. Oh man. Okay, cool. Any shout outs on the way out here, guys? Maynard, you want to go first?
Yeah. I actually did all my shout outs earlier. Everyone from the X Championship Series, thank you again. Like it's been a blast. It's probably gonna be with me for a long time.
Cheers. Nam, any shout outs?
Yeah, shout outs to Arizona scene as usual. You guys are still killing it. Even with all the old TOs gone, you got new TOs stepping up like Maynard. So, big ups to you for sure. And shout outs to Whiskey for starting this conversation.
I'm still convinced that shit never happened. I think Benny's just stirring shit up. I don't remember any of that.
It really did.
You're-
It really did.
No, you were like pouring your heart out to me. Like I was sitting there.
Yeah.
I was, or
in the kitchen.
Yeah.
In the kitchen.
No, you were.
Oh,
It
we
started in the
should've-
kitchen. Like
Next time you gotta
Oh.
have your podcast set up in the kitchen.
well, not if we're going to talk
In the
about the
kitchen.
things that I remember from that conversation.
it started in the kitchen, and then like there was an open seat. I sat down, and the next thing I know, John was sitting next to me, and then Nam kind of like moved out from the kitchen, and then it was just started from there.
It was nostalgic having everybody back because Wenster showed up at that party and everything too. It kind
Yeah.
of gave me that the old like parties I used to throw after the tournaments feel.
Yeah.
So I always invite
It was a good
Surge
time.
too, but Surge never shows up. So thanks a lot, Surge. I want those cookies.
He's too busy driving, man. He's out there Ubering
Ah.
somebody.
It's a good time.
He's an Uber. Oh, okay. I don't want to get too deep into
Yep,
people's
yep.
professions.
Sorry,
but
Surge.
yeah. Doxed. Cool. We'll leave it on that then. This has been the Absolute Guard Podcast, episode 80 with John, Benny, Maynard, and Nam. You can find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/Spiral Series, YouTube at youtube.com/Spiral Series, and on Apple Podcasts and Spotify under Absolute Guard. Thanks, everybody, and have a good night.